Good morning, everyone. Ready to discuss the role of songs and music in our profession, right? Let's get us started. I'm going to ask you to do a little bit of writing on the chat while I'm talking, just to break the ice and to get us started communicating. And then my objective for the morning is basically to do a little bit of review of why we use songs in ELT. And secondly, to provide you with concrete ideas of what you can do in the classroom with any song, literally any song. I hope you will find this useful, and particularly with our audience, young learners, I believe this is a very powerful tool. So let's say, I still have people say hello, so hello everyone. Let's go to the first activity for the morning. Can you complete this sentence? You must. Okay, let's see what ideas. Write your ideas in the chat. You must be a good person, you must be happy, you must smile, you must sing, you must enjoy life, you must create life. Okay, how about if I showed you this? How would you complete that sentence? Silence. Any ideas? No ideas. Oh my God, we have a very young crowd today. I'll give you a hint. It has to do with a very famous song. Not quite. Yes, somebody got it. You must remember this. Very well done. The famous song, you must remember this, a kiss is still a kiss. So my question is, and here I go to the next slide, but you must not always use fill in the blanks. Why every time we do songs do we use fill in the blanks? Aren't there any other ideas for songs? Of course there are, and particularly for young learners, right? If I ask you to complete that while you listen to the song, would that be motivating to you? I don't think so, right? Although many students enjoy fill in the gap or fill in the blank activities when we are practicing grammar. When we are using songs, that's a different thing. Songs must be a special moment in the class, and the same way when you use music. So I went to the experts, and I asked the experts, okay, music producers, what is a good song? What is a good song, right? Before I go into that, though, I want to clarify that everybody in our profession at one time or another has used either music or songs in ELT, and for many different purposes, right? But one of the things that happens is also one of the most abused tools in teaching. A song can be a wonderful learning opportunity, so I hope it will be clear from my explanation in a minute. But many times okay, I'm just too tired, or they are too tired, let's play a song. Be quiet, write, draw, do whatever you want, or play some music and do that. However, songs are one of the most popular activities with students. Whenever you say, we're going to work with a song today, they go like, yay! And then you give them the fill in the blanks, and they go like, oh. So let's look at songs from another perspective. Because of that, it's one of the least popular activities with students. So isn't it funny that we have an amazing motivational tool right there at our fingertips, and then when we just do the fill in the blanks thing, we lose them. Also, because of the fill in the blanks mania that we have in our profession, it's one of the least exploited texts. Generally, it's fill in the blanks, sing the song, moving on. Every song tells a story. Every song is a wonderful narrative piece or descriptive piece. And what do we do with the lyrics of the song? How do students relate to those lyrics? Many times they just don't. So today we're going to find ways of doing that. And it's also one of the most underused because of all the things about tools for teaching, because just giving them the fill in the blank so that they can find the right grammar or the right vocabulary or the right phonics word, and then just getting them to sing it generally once or twice and then moving on to the next step is not really an effective way of using songs in the classroom. So as I told you, I went to the experts, song producers, people who are really successful at putting together words, the lyrics, music, and singers. And I asked them, okay, what makes a good song? How do you choose what song to put on a record? And this is what they told me. First thing, songs have to be original. They have to provide an alternative view on a very well-known theme. And think of, for example, how we teach parts of the body to students. In general, we just do it with head and shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. That is a nice song. It's fun, it's engaging. But what if there were other ways of bringing that into the fold and getting the students motivated? Next, it has to have a catchy part, either in the music or in the lyrics. So there has to be repetition. And that should appeal to people's feelings so that they can relate. There has to be some emotional connection between the song, either the lyrics or the music, and the students' feelings. There has to be a climactic moment or a hook. They called it a hook, right? That makes the song memorable. There has to be reinforcement of that climactic moment through repetition. So look at this. We're giving, I was given the recipe for the perfect song. Think of the current most popular song in your country and see if you can tick off the different criteria. Oh, somebody's mentioning here in the chat, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. That kind of thing I meant. Yes, exactly that. Then it has to have a great plot that helps bring the listener in through anticipation. And how do we build one of those plots? Well, it could be the vocabulary we're teaching. It could be the grammar we're teaching. Or it could be a combination of both, or even the phonology that we're trying to teach. It has to have a real emotional or affective appeal, right, through the words of the music. But the emotional appeal also is created by how we use the song in the classroom. We want the students to have a really great time when we're listening to music or when we are learning a new song. And that song is not a one-shot thing. It's something that we bring over and over and over again. And we are going to see the power of that. Good lyrics that bring the story across clearly and unambiguously. And this means simple language. We don't have to go to sophisticated metaphors, though we can do that if we have more advanced students. But in terms of what a good popular song is, you will find that the lyrics bring the story clearly and unambiguously. There are even very reduced number of word songs that are very popular. Of course, a catchy tune, something that cannot get out of your head. Have you had that experience of, oh my God, I cannot get this song out of my head? That is what we mean by a catchy tune. And of course, performance potential. We know that when we teach children, when they get home, parents are going to ask, what did you learn at school today? Or what did you learn in your English class today? Well, encourage your students to, okay, Mom, okay, Dad, this is what I learned, and sing the song to their parents. And of course, it has to have recall potential. Now, remember, this is from leaders in the music industry. So they talk about making money because the ultimate aim of songs in the music industry is to sell records. But I found this recall potential thing very interesting. A song isn't really great until it's out there doing its job. And the job is twofold. One, touching lives, the emotional appeal. Secondly, making money. In our case, I would cross out the making money and just focus on enhancing learning, which is the purpose of anything that we do in the classroom, to get our students to learn more. Okay, so These are the 10 criteria that the music industry has identified as potentially powerful criteria for a song. And I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to ask you to listen to a song. It's a song you've never heard before. And I want you to check off each of these criteria to see if the song really fulfills the criteria, right? I'm going to take off my earphones and put the microphone next to my speaker so that you can hear it better. Are we ready? Here we go.
Activity 1. Listen and sing. Then act it out. This is me.
This is my nose. These are my teeth. This is my head. These are my eyes. These are my ears. Listen, listen. This is my mouth. Hooray! This is my nose. These are my teeth. This is my head. These are my eyes. These are my ears. This is my mouth. This is me.
Okay, we have different opinions here. To some of you, it was an awful song. To some others, we're kind of getting it now. Is it on YouTube? No, unfortunately, it's not on YouTube. It's one of the songs that makes the series, a forthcoming series with Macmillan called Happy Campers, that is coming out in January. But if I look at the criteria, I think that instead of head and shoulders, knees and toes, we have parts of the face. This is for the introductory level, and we're talking about 5-year-olds here. All right, so it has a catchy part. As many of you said, yes, I know we are practicing this is my, this is my, this is my. That is a recurring thing. And then it has a climactic moment when students just basically do the actions of touching the different parts of the face. So as I was saying, a song does not need to be a sophisticated composition in that sense, but it does have to have all these criteria. Why do we use songs in the classroom? Well, before preparing this, I went ahead and I asked a lot of my colleagues a few questions. Okay, do you use songs in the classroom? How do you use them? And these are some of the answers. I created categories with the answers, and I found this interesting. It was some of the social. There are many of my colleagues who use the songs to get students to make students welcoming to the classroom, to basically get them to get into the English class mode. Of course, many of my colleagues, and myself included, we use songs so that we can provide linguistic input, and in that sense, we use it either for presentation, for practice, or for review of key language in our programs. And of course, there are cultural reasons. Some people say the words giving different nationalities. This song sounds so an X nationality, as you may have seen in the chats. Yeah, but there are also songs that portray the culture of a time and place. If you think about different musical styles like punk rock, that showed a particular cultural and social configuration in the United Kingdom in the 1980s. Of course, there are effective reasons to use songs as well, and the effective reasons are we feel good when we like the songs that we play. Sorry to those of you who didn't like this song. I have another one coming up. I hope it's a better selection. But yeah, I mean, when music helps us wind down, and when we feel pleasure by experiencing good sounds or nice lyrics that are memorable and we can bring to bear over and over again, that has an effective impact on us. Also, there are cognitive impacts. Thanks to all this neuroscience technology that we have now, we know that when we play music and we pair music with language, there are cognitive associations in our minds that help students learn better. So if you think in terms of how cognitive and linguistic, that's why I put them kind of across from each other, can come together, music and language becomes very, very memorable, and that is a wonderful learning technique. And last but not least, and I found find this very interesting, there are colleagues who use music and songs to manage their lessons. There's a song when students get to class and they do a do now activity. While the song is playing, you have to write 7 words about the topic we are seeing this week, or you have to talk to a partner and say hello and ask what the person did yesterday. Then they move on to playing another song to start the class. While the students are working, they may transition from one activity to another activity by having the students either sing a song or respond physically to some kind of music. Like, for example, you have been doing quiet seat work. You want the students to do pair work or group work, let's say, and you get the students to mingle, and well, the music is playing, and then when the music stops, they have to sit down with 2 people next to them. So these are all general reasons for using songs and music, but there is research on why songs are so useful in the classroom. First of all, because they are fun. Let's be honest, songs are fun. Secondly, music and songs help improve concentration, help students focus. And I've been reading very interesting research, particularly people who have attention deficit disorder and attention deficit disorder with hyperactivity, ADD and ADHD, and how music and songs really help these people go into the concentration zone, which is so difficult for them to do. Songs improve retention. I can challenge any of you to sing a song you learned when you were 2 or 3 years old, a nursery rhyme. You will all be able to repeat that song. And maybe it's years since you last sang it. So, improve retention. Songs help us develop language awareness. And if you have read the work of people like, for example, Scott Thornbury or Jim Scrivener, who have done so much about language awareness. Being aware of how language works is the first step, the noticing of building our own linguistic system in our minds. So when students sing a song, and if these songs are patterns and there's repetition and there's all the characteristics I talked about, students begin to see how language operates. They develop their own hypotheses about language. And these hypotheses, they will transfer, hopefully, to our regular language lessons. So they will use chunks of the song as memorized patterns, and they will develop their own hypotheses following those. When we sing, singing is generally a group activity, or even if one person sings and the others are listening, we all try to kind of come together with songs. You know, in kindergarten, I see colleagues are talking about how in kindergarten songs are great. They're great at any age. Even I teach adults in a master's program, and I use music and songs in my classes just to get a message across, just to get my students focused. Of course, they motivate learning. That is a given. They relax people, and they reinforce what has been learned. Hence, we can conclude, if we were to cross a line from all these criteria and say that what songs help the most with is they help people absorb material. Whether it is content, if you're teaching in a clean environment, you can create songs connected to the content. There are actually some content songs available. If you're teaching language, the language, etc. And one thing with songs is that they are easily obtainable. Every course book series for children has songs attached to them, and most teenage series also do. But now, somebody was mentioning, is it available on YouTube? Of course, that is the go-to source for many of us nowadays. There's such a wonderful resource of songs on YouTube that you can use for your classroom. Pardon me. And then the other thing is songs are flexible. I mean, there's as yet not a particular way of or a particular set of guidelines of when you have to use songs, you have to use songs, etc. So they are a flexible tool, and we are going to see with the classroom ideas all the things that you can do with them. So good teaching songs. Good teaching songs is adapting, what I'm doing here is adapting the criteria from the pros to the ELT. I would say that a good song contains everyday vocabulary, and by everyday vocabulary I mean classroom, what we are teaching in the classroom, and also frequently seen vocabulary. All the research on teaching vocabulary indicates that one of the most decisive factors in vocabulary learning / acquisition is that students should be able to see the same word operating in different meaningful contexts many times. So they should listen to it, they should say it, they should see it, they should write it, but it's not just the sensory modes that I'm talking about. You should see it in a song, you should see it in a dialogue, you should see it in a text. So the more context of meaningfulness a word is found in, the better for students. Secondly, it has to have conversational language. Remember that what we are trying to do here is use songs to teach, practice, or review the language that we are teaching. So it has to have everyday conversational language. It has to have lyrics that can be sung at a slower pace than actual words. We know students generally have difficulty enunciating in English. So if we use a song at beginning levels and with children a song sung by a native speaker at a normal rhythm, they are going to find it difficult. So let's find songs that have lyrics that can be sung at a slower pace than the actual words. Then we need to have opportunities to engage multiple sensory channels by listening, but also seeing, also doing, involving the body as well. Why? Because that helps strengthen associations in our mind and adds to the memorability of the song. Repetition of key vocabulary and grammar. I thought that when we talked about having a refrain or chorus or a climactic moment that gets repeated over and over again, in this case, for our own purposes in English language teaching, it should be repeating key vocabulary and grammar. And songs provide something unique, which I call the automaticity of songs. You learn a song once, as we said before, and no matter how many years go by, if you listen to the song again, all the memories of the context where you learned the song
Hi everyone, it's Henry. It seems Gabriel's video just froze there. I'll try and find out what's happened, so bear with us a second. Don't panic, we'll get Gabriel back. I'm going to write him a message. In the meantime, you've stuck with me for a little bit longer. Okay, don't send. Right. Looks like your video is frozen. Take a few minutes now, guys, if you want to just get a drink or something. I'm just trying to find out what's happened to Gabriel. Okay. Stay logged in, and hopefully he'll be back with us shortly. Okay, so waiting. May need a few moments. It's probably a problem with the equipment. Okay, so yeah, all stay logged in though. Okay, Gabriel, I think is going to have to log back in. So he's just logged out. So he probably needs to click on the link again. I'm going to email him now, and then he should be back with us. These things happen sometimes. So let me just find him. Okay, I'll switch my camera off for a second, and hopefully Gabriel should reappear. Okay, 2 seconds. Okay, me again. Gabriel's just logged back in, so he's restarted. I've just got a message from him. No problem at all, Gabriel. That's happened to me quite a few times.
Hello,
so
I'm
let
back.
me, Gabriel. He's back.
No, I'm back.
Okay,
I'm back.
Gabriel, nice to see you again. Hope you're okay there.
We're fine. We're fine. The
You can
thing is,
pick up.
I don't know. The computer kicked me out. It switched off.
Yeah, that does happen now and then, I'm afraid. But we can pick up where you left off. It's fine. It's still on the same slide, so I'll go away again.
Great. So everyone, the automaticity principle, the instant review, as we were saying. And here we're having a problem, Harry. I cannot access the slides. There's blank slides. Can you guys see slides? The content of the slides there?
Sometimes they take a little while longer to load if there's pictures on them. So if someone's on Wi-Fi, it may need a little longer, but lots of other people are saying yes, so I think we should be
good.
okay.
So the next point is an achievable challenge. Many times, and I'm sure this has happened to you, it certainly happened to me. I found this great song that I want my students to learn from. I bring it to class, I play it, and somehow it's too difficult for the students, either because the pitch is too high or the pace with which the words are sung is too fast. So a song has to be an achievable challenge. It cannot be so easy at the beginning when we are just teaching it that students say, oh, this is so easy. And neither can it be so difficult that students say, there's no way I can do that. So it has to be an achievable challenge. We're waiting for the, what I would like to discuss now is what kind of songs can you use? What are the song types that we can use? And I have different criteria. As I said, welcome songs. Some book series have something that I find a wonderful idea, which is a theme song that carries throughout the series. It's not just a song that appears in one book, but a song that appears in all the levels of the series. I've used that song many times to provide the welcome moment. In all my classes, no matter what ages I teach, I try to arrive before my students, and the first thing I do is on the board, I write a do now activity, something that helps them get into the classroom, leave their stuff, get organized, and it sends a message that this is about working in English. So as I explained before, the examples I gave, write a list of 5 words you remember from last class. Ask your colleague or your classmate a question about the character story that we saw last class, something that gets them in the mood for English. While that is going on, I try to play the theme song for the series if I have one of those, and I call them welcome songs. There are also transition songs. As I explained before, my colleagues use songs to move students from one activity to the other. Energy songs. When we have done a lot of quiet work, head down work, as I call it, sometimes students need an energy boost so that they don't just fall asleep. And we can use a song, particularly if it has some kind of physical movement involved, to help the students stretch and to help the students energize. We also have what I call reused songs. One of the things that I found very effective when I was teaching young learners is to give students a choice. Even though we may be using a prescribed curriculum or a textbook series, students like choice. And one of the choices that I gave my students was, okay, which of the songs we've learned so far would you like to sing? And we took that to a vote. And I call these reused songs as recycled songs because many times they provide this instant review that I was talking about before. I also use frame songs. When I find a good song about the topic of the class, or in some cases, as it happens in some textbook series, there is a song that connects to the topic of the class, I use the song to frame all the activity. So I go first for the song and then for the rest of the topic. I may introduce the song and explain the vocabulary, and then I will go back to the song for the grammar. That will be always my point of reference throughout the development of the unit. That is why I call it a frame song. It helps me frame all the activities towards one focal point, which helps students remember. Of course, there are action songs like the one we listened to before. There are timer songs. Some of my colleagues use music from the textbook, songs from the textbook, and they tell the students, okay, now you have as long as this song takes to complete this activity. Most of the songs in children's textbooks are fairly short, and that helps us keep the pace of the lesson and also helps us with students' concentration spans, attention spans, which are generally short. And last but not least, I find that it's a good thing to close the lesson, not every lesson, of course, but some lessons, particularly the one at the end of the week, with a farewell song. That again, it can be either prescribed by the teacher, it could be the theme song for the series or the song for the units, or get the students to choose one of the reused songs. And it is not just to sing the song together, but after the song, we always do something else. Like, for example, okay, if we use one song from Unit 3, let's see who can remember 7, 10, 15 words from Unit 3. And then they can check in their books. They close their books, put them in the backpacks, and they can go home, or they move on to the next lesson. So these are some of the songs and the potential uses they have. And over the years, I have developed like a sequence for teaching songs. In the same, I mean, songs involve both receptive skills of listening and reading. So whenever we're using songs, we are actually practicing those skills. In that sense, we know that skills development for reading and listening go through a pre, while, and post stage. And this is one possible framework for using songs. Whenever you use a song, instead of going cold-blooded for the fill in the gaps and sing, this is what we are doing. First of all, some little preparation, followed by a core task or activity, focusing on the song, and then a follow-up. How can you do this? Well, basically, for the preparation, focus on the topic and focus on the vocabulary. So once the students have the vocabulary and the topic handy, they are ready to engage with the core task and activity. In general, the way we focus on the topic and the vocabulary is by doing brainstorming activities, by using games that bring the vocabulary to bear, like, for example, Snap, where they have to turn around memory games with cards. We do Pictionary, all those kinds of games. The core activity is basically for confidence building, and it must involve singing. If the preparation time takes about 5 minutes tops, then the core task or activity that involves singing must take as long as that. When I talk about confidence building, I talk about doing things that help the students say the words of the song. And for that, what you can do are many different things. You can have part of the class sing a line, followed by the other part of the class singing the other line. Boys and girls, if you have boys and girls in your class, boys sing one line, girls sing the other, or a stanza of the song. You can also do, let's hum the song before saying the words, keeping to the rhythm of the music. All these confidence building activities will eventually help the students sing. And then take time to sing and do crazy things. Sing the song as if you were a rock star with a microphone. Sing the song, whisper the song, or shout out the song. Go the extra mile to get the students to have that effective, memorable experience singing the song. And then, as a follow-up, we can do two things. Either focus on language, and we direct students' attention to how language works in the song, or focus on fun. Get the students to do other things. And these are some of the ideas that I have used over the years and that have worked very, very well. You will see that they don't include a fill in the blanks. So one of the things is change the song. Instead of a fill in the blanks, change some of the words in the lyrics, then play the song. Students have to identify the words that are either wrong, or there are extra words in a line, or there are missing words in a line. It's the same thing, but by not providing the blank, what you're doing is helping students sharpen their listening comprehension skills. Strip it and get the students to order the strips. Copy the lyrics on strips and get the students to, first of all, think how these lines could go together. Then listen to the song and check. Then listen to the song and put the strips in order. That would be the preparation activity. Draw it. Play the song, get the students to draw whatever they understand from the song the first time. Question it. I found that with students who are at an A2 level, so that is a little bit below beginners, the questioning technique worked very well. We would take a stanza and we would just circle nouns, and we would do questions with what. We would circle places, and we would do questions with where. And basically what they have to do is listen to the rest of the song and see the answers to those questions appear in the song. After they have heard the song, ask the students to retell it as a simple narrative. What went on here? Well, basically the song is about how are you going to go to the mall, say. And the chorus is, I'm not going to go by train, I'm not going to go by bus, I'm going to walk because the mall is not far. So students have to retell the song as a person, maybe a textbook character, or the character you chose to introduce in the class, needs to go to the mall and somebody's asking them how. The idea is changing genres is a powerful way of showing understanding that does not require writing or fill in the blanks, etc. Subtitle it. How about that? Play the song. If you have images that can go with the song, and you can search Google Images a lot. What I do is I get some of the Google Images, I try to make them into a strip story. I give them the strip story, and this can be photos, illustrations, whatever. And basically students have to tell me what the story of the song is. Then they listen to it and they subtitle each of the images that appear in the handouts. How about if we leave the last stanza out and we get the students to work in groups and finish the song? That is generally a wonderful follow-up activity, because students will have listened to the song a couple of times, will have sung it. They need to write a new stanza. They will, of course, follow the pattern. So the language awareness we were talking about, the use of vocabulary we were talking about, all comes to bear there. And of course, they can change it. Say the song is the one we listened to today. This is me. And we only work with the parts of the face in the song. Students can change it for other parts of the body. Or if the song is about, I don't know, a particular character in the book and some story that happened, change the character. And of course, there's always the match, the song. What other songs do you know that are similar to this? What other stories have we seen in class, or you know, that are similar to what happens in the song? Books that students have read, readers, etc. And then the last thing is, in the follow-up, when we focus on language, deconstruct the song. Basically, that entails either projecting it or writing part of the lyrics on the board, or if you have the sentence strips that students use to work in class, they can go up on the board if you make them big enough. And you use the song for language analysis. You ask the students to circle, to underline, to connect, to find things in common. So as you can see, songs have limitless possibilities. I have this favorite saying of mine that I always give my student teachers, that if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a song is worth 1,000 memories. Because of that fact that whenever we hear the tune or we hear words that have appeared in the song, the whole memory of the song comes to bear. I hope that the ideas that I share with you have proved useful, right? And then I would like to open up the floor to questions.
That's right. Thanks, Gabriel.
So, you're welcome. If you can help me out with the questions, because they're going like crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Okay. Oh, yeah, it really is. Wow. Okay, let me see if I can find some questions in there.
I just saw one that I would like to address, because I thought I put it in the PowerPoint. Is there an age limit to songs? I would say no. I'm going to tell you a little experience that I had a few days ago. You know, the film Maleficent has become very popular, and it has a very dark rendition of Once Upon a Dream, the song Once Upon a Dream from the Sleeping Beauty film. And the other day, I saw one of my student teachers use it in a class. The new version, sung by Angelina Jolie, I think, in a class with adults. And it was a wonderful experience. They loved it because it's more jazzy and it has a different twist. It has a darker twist to Once Upon a Dream. So I would say any age is great. Excellent. Any other questions?
Let's see. Guys, remember to type in your questions. Yeah, we've got one that looks quite interesting here from Olga, asking how often you use songs during adult lessons, Gabriel.
Well, that depends on what I need to achieve in the class. I use music a lot. I find that particularly what we call ambience music or chill-out music resonates very well with adults when they are working, because it gives them kind of rhythm to their work. I put this soft music. But in terms of songs, I don't know. It depends on who my adult learners are. If I'm teaching executives, they are pressed by time. But if I teach a general English course, I always find that one song every 2 units, or even a song per unit, is always useful, right? Used in different ways. Every time I use a song, we try to do something different, not always doing the same activities.
Thanks, Gabriel. Let's see if there's any more questions. Keep them coming into the chat box. Oh, there's lots. It's a bit of a rush all at once there. Any you've seen that you want to pick up on, Gabriel? If so, then feel free to pick them out. Okay.
Somebody's asking whether we can use songs in bilingual schools. And I would say 100% yes. I know, I don't know if you're familiar with the Big Bang Theory. Maybe this is a series about a group of scientists who live in California, and it has a song by a group called Bare Naked Ladies, and it's basically about the Big Bang. And I know of international schools where a physics teacher taught the song to start the topic of the Big Bang. There are other songs. There's songs about mathematics. There are songs about science. Yes, in bilingual schools, whenever you're dealing directly with content, I would say, yeah, find a song, and that helps students remember not just the concept, but the language associated with it.
Excellent. Thanks, Gabriel. A question that keeps coming into the chat box, which I feel we should answer, is someone wants to know if you should be careful when choosing songs, especially for teenagers, in case they include any lyrics that maybe they shouldn't.
No, absolutely. I think that's a given. Whenever we use a song, it has to be first culturally appropriate, and we cannot, I mean, I know there is an extended practice in our field that you get the learners to bring in their own songs that they want to learn. I never went with that because, as you know, songs may have foul language. They may have incorrect grammar. And even though it's dialect, but we are there to teach the correct grammar. So I wouldn't use, for example, a song that has he do it every day. No, I would never use that in the classroom because that is not a good model. Yeah, look for cultural biases in the songs. Look for things that can potentially offend your students or their families. Always think in terms of the kids' families as well. Right? I know there are places in the world where physical contact is not allowed. So try to find songs that avoid all those cultural constraints, cultural or social constraints, and just go for the safe ones. I'm a big fan of two kinds of songs. Somebody was asking me, what's your favorite song? And I have a lot. And I think my favorite song changes from year to year because there's always something happening. But textbooks that have songs these songs have been thought out, and I'm speaking from experience. I mean, I co-wrote this book, Happy Campers Level 5, with a dear colleague of mine, Leslie Painter-Farrell, and the most difficult part of writing the book was writing the songs. And we have a song per unit. And what we did was, we did not just write the songs in cold blood and send them to the editor. No, we wrote the songs. This was for a particular age group. Our level 5 was for 10 to 11-year-olds. Then we tried out the songs with real children from different cultures, the sons and daughters of our colleagues. And we were very careful about those things. So if you use the songs in the series, you know that you're safe, that there's not going to be anything that will offend your students. And then, yes, go for some general popular song that your students might like.
Thank you, Gabriel. And one last question that came in, you might like to answer, is about how you get around the problem of students being shy and therefore being reluctant to sing in front of others in class.
Okay, let me show you. Here, the crucial thing, is this stage here, confidence building. Always do an activity that helps students to actually mouth and articulate the words of the song. And one of the beauties of songs is that it's a collective activity. So even shy students, you can talk to the shy students and say, maybe you don't want to sing out loud, but make the point of at least mouthing the words. And you will see that progressively they will get more confidence and they will sing with the rest of the group. Of course, never single them out, right? I just wanted to share with you a few resources that you may find interesting. Some of them, they are amusing. And I sent I don't know, Henry, whether the web pages I sent before have been uploaded, the links or connections to the topic?
We will be making these slides available,
okay.
Gabriel, so from next week everyone can get hold of this again, and I can share some of them in the chat box now too, as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, please carry on if you want to.
Now, basically, these are some web pages, and I'm giving you a reference to our two books that have extra resources for dealing with songs. I'm getting distracted here, but by a question that came up. Let me read it. Okay, there's a question. Is what if the course book writers include the songs into their textbook? Don't you think that it could be even more helpful in terms of complementing definite grammar and vocabulary? Definitely, yes, absolutely. That is the focal point I was talking about. And you know, this focal point is one of the most important hooks for the learners in terms of remembering the song. So, okay, we have fans of the Big Bang Theory and Bare Naked Ladies. Translation, you know, is translation advisable? There's this question here. My take is when we're dealing with children now, translation is a sophisticated skill. You need some language competence. Though I have to recognize that there are new uses of translation in our field with which I'm not entirely familiar and with which I haven't experimented, but it's something in my to-do list in future courses. But I would say if we go for translation, that may actually jeopardize students' learning. And somebody asked whether I have any suggestions for teenagers. I would say this is standard practice with whichever age. It comes from best practices in elementary school or education or teaching young learners. But I think because they are, given the age range and the language level, they make the learning process really comprehensible. So because of that, because they are best practices in education, they can be adapted to all levels. Right? Of course, with teenagers, you have to find something more jazzy. You are not going to use a song like This Is Me with a 15-year-old. But one thing that I find students sometimes like is traditional English, American, Canadian, New Zealand songs that have a cultural background behind it. I know, for example, I have a very dear colleague who teaches history in English. When she teaches the First World War, she generally introduces it with the song "It's a Long Way to Tipperary," right? And because it's about that, and she uses that as that song as the focal point for the whole unit, starting from the human experience of going to war and why is it a long way to Tipperary. Okay, I think we're running out of time, Henry.
Yeah, I think we are, Gabriel. Thank you so much for staying around to answer those questions so comprehensively. It's a great help, and I can see a lot of nice comments coming into the chat box. Would you like to say a final few words to thank everyone today?
Absolutely. It was really my privilege to work with you today. I wish we could sustain this conversation a little bit more. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this topic. You will have the PowerPoint available and a recording of this session next week. I hope you go back to them. And if you have any questions or any ideas, I've included my email in the last PowerPoint. I do answer my emails from international colleagues always. So give me some time. If I get flooded by a lot of emails, give me some time. But yeah, I would love to sustain the discussion with you. And who knows, I look forward to seeing you in an international conference in the flesh. If you go to a conference where I'm presenting, please do come by and say hello. And thank you very much for sharing your time with me. Thank you.